I'd like to pose this next one to Eric. Um, what do you think it would take for some of these players to become the next Jeremy Lin or Yao Ming?
Well, for any player, it's going to take repetition of practice. As a player, I practice so much every day, and in anything that you're trying to perfect, you got to continue to practice your craft. These players have an opportunity these days because they can actually go online and see some of the things that Jeremy Lin did. They can practice it day or night, and it's actually a little easier because most kids are playing video games or watching TV or on the computer. And if you stay on the court doing, basketball skills and developing your game, then you'll have a better opportunity to make it.
I think one of the things that I would want to pass on to the next generation is the passion and understanding that this game, you have to love it in order to do it. So with that, you have to study it. I always give the example of having a girlfriend or a boyfriend and how much information you find out about them. It's the same thing that you have to study the game. Like you have to know the history. You have to watch film, and really get a clear understanding. And it doesn't matter if it's women's basketball, if it's men's basketball, if it's college, just study something. They really have to really take time to really spend time and learn.
Again, I'd like to pose this one to Eric. How did you end up becoming an international coach / entrepreneur? And was it something that you thought of when you were younger?
Well, I became an entrepreneur just by doing the things that I had perfected and had become a professional at. I think for anyone that's becoming an entrepreneur, you got to go into the field knowing that this is what I'm an expert at. You can't go into the field and try to learn it. You got to do it. And for me, it's my passion. So I didn't want to work and get up and do a 9 to 5. I wanted to actually do something that I love doing. So as I began to get towards the end of my career, I started thinking of, what do I want to do? And my passion was not only basketball, but travel. So I traveled the world for 10 years as a player. I wanted to continue that. Everywhere I went, I had kids wanting to sign autographs and interview me just like we're doing now. And I wanted to continue having that. And I had learned so much from so many different coaches, and I made it into a business. That's how I became daily training. So I think for someone who's trying to become an entrepreneur or to work for themselves, they need to know it, they need to love it, and if they do, then they can become successful at it.
So Shell, I want to pose these questions your way. What was your journey like becoming a professional women's player?
My journey was a late start, is when you start considering women's basketball, and when most players start really at an early age, maybe 5 and up, or maybe they played on some teams or something in the U.S. Whereas mine, I was more or less 9th grade. So I started a little bit later. I was more into the arts, the dance, and all of those types of things. Got the opportunity to go play with a friend and kind of liked it, but then my first introduction was actually walking down a hallway in a high school, and the coach saw me and said, "Oh, you're tall, you want to play basketball?" And I was like, "No, not really," because I didn't really understand it. But once the coach taught me and gave some fundamental skills, those types of things, I began to like it. I began to get hungry for it and really wanted to practice and get better, and had the opportunity to play at one of the top universities for women's basketball, University of Texas. And then from there, it just kind of just took off from there.
How would you compare the women's professional game and the men's professional game? And is there any difference between the training or the path to success?
I think both professional organizations can learn from each other. I think for the women's game, they can learn from the men's game in respect to talent, of just really learning how to get maybe a quicker first step, the rebounding, the positioning. The women's game is a lot different in the fact that we think we were not really as athletic, but that is changing as the game grows. But when we start thinking about precision, the fundamentals of how the game was played, then it's more comparison to the women's game. So what we're looking at is not really men or women. We're looking at arms and legs, the development of the total players. So when you start talking about the differences, there's a lot of differences, but then there's a lot of similarities.
Last one. What advice do you have for the young girls that wish to become a professional athlete within what's typically seen as a male-dominated sport?
I've always said this, and I've been very blessed to have support for some young ladies when they're actually playing the sport, the competitiveness. They're taught not to be as competitive, to kind of downplay, their love and their passion for the game. I would say just let it release. You can do both. You can still be a girl off the court, and on the court you can be as competitive as you want. So I would say to a young girl, if that's what you choose to do and that's your desire, I say go for it wholeheartedly. And if that means, roughing it up or, playing with the guy in order to get quicker and to sharpen your skills, then do so. But don't be intimidated, or hold yourself back just because you are female.
We're assuming you've already been a professional basketball player, so what were some of your goals? What are some of your goals now?
My goals back, and even now, was just to be happy. Even as a player, it was to be happy. And it wasn't a thing like before. I thought it was about, as a player, make a lot of money and drive the car, and I thought it was that. But after I started playing, it was about happiness. And again, my happiness is through my passion. So I found it, and I'm living it, So, I just want to be healthy. So I train. That's why I do training, and then I'll start back doing more training personally when I get back home. And I want to touch as many players as I can. I want to see the world before I leave it. That's it. It ain't really nothing else. There's nothing else that, that you can do before you get on the crazy side. So I tell people that there's a cap, that there's an amount of money that you can make to be happy, and it's not millions of dollars. Because once you get to that point, you get on the crazy side. You start buying, a house that flies or something. You start, I got a boat that rides on land. It's stupid stuff. And I don't want to get that. I just want to be happy, eat good. I want to share, my life with people. I want to meet new people. That's it. And that's what I'm doing through daily training. Yeah.
Again, thank you guys for spending your time. Thank you guys for taking time out. Thanks for coming to Hong Kong. We appreciate you guys. Thank you so, so much.